Welcome into another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. This time, we're going to cover rookie wide receivers. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Let's jump into our cover player, actually, our number 5 rookie wide receiver, Xavier Worthy. And I want to talk about Xavier Worthy at the beginning because he's the player I think a lot of people I've heard, oh, Worthy is too small. Oh, I don't want to draft him. Well, those people are not really looking at the full picture. So let's look at the full picture, and then you'll see that you should draft him. 2021, now, 18 years old at Texas, 62 catches, 981 yards, 12 touchdowns, 18 years old. You'll notice as we go through, even the better prospects weren't this good in their first year of college. He has an age 18 breakout. That is very rare. So we got to keep that in mind. Then 2022, it's a little step down, but still good. 60 catches, 760 yards, 9 touchdowns. 2023, without an I. Mitchell there to compete. More catches, more yards, but only 5 touchdowns. So kind of interesting. The touchdowns progressed downward over time, but he was productive all 3 college seasons. Does he have one great year? No, but all 3 of them, he was good, and I love seeing him good early. Strengths of Xavier Worthy. We all know the 4.21 second 40-yard dash NFL record. High-end early college production we talked about. Turns 21 later this month, a very young prospect, and a strong target share throughout his college career. He always earned targets, which is always what we want to see. Weaknesses, small size, 165 pounds, struggle versus press, contested catches. Those are not his strength. So we know, though, from Tank Dell, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, players that we used to think, oh, they're too small. Oh, they can't succeed. It's not true. These models are all outdated. Anyone showing, oh, the last 20 years this, the last 25 years this, you don't need to listen to them. That data is irrelevant. Look at recent data, recent players, and you'll see that smaller players at wide receiver are succeeding more and more often. His college production is there. I like the speed, and I like the youth, and I will like the NFL draft capital that Xavier Worthy is going to get. Most mocks have him going in the late first round. In my kind of exercise that I do on the Patreon, which you can sign up for up there, I have him going to the Chargers at 23 via the trade back that I think we're all kind of predicting with the Vikings, and the Chargers taking him at 23. I think that's about the draft capital he's going to get. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go in the first round. And then I have Xavier Worthy as my 110 in Superflex rookie drafts. Again, I think people might just dismiss him because of the size. I think that's unwise. So I am probably going to be drafting a lot of him over running backs that I'm not confident in. You see my enthusiasm for the wide receivers, lack thereof on the running back episode, which was also on the channel. So Xavier Worthy is a definite target for me. Next up, Brian Thomas Jr. I also love Brian Thomas Jr., but I don't think I'm alone on that. I think everybody likes Brian Thomas Jr. And almost everybody has him as the wide receiver 4 in this class. The majority, I think 80% of Dynasty analysts have him there. I agree with them. I have that as my ranking, but it's not an unusual ranking. Let's look at his college stats at LSU. 2021, 28 catches, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2022, 31 catches, 361 yards, 5 touchdowns. Nothing really impressive there. But then we get to 2023. Now that's good. 68 catches, 1,177 yards, and 17 touchdowns. He was great. What are his strengths? Outside the top 3 wide receivers, his single season, his 2023, is the best. That is a good representation of his talent. The other wide receivers kind of in the top, they don't have a season like that. So he has the 2023 on his resume. Turns 22 in October, so he's young. And the insane size-speed combo that he delivers. He delivers a 4.33 second 40-yard dash at 209 pounds. We know that the NFL loves size and speed. It's great to have one or the other. It's really good when you have both. And Brian Thomas can serve as a wide receiver 1 on a team. He is an X wide receiver. He can do that. And we know that teams are looking for that. And I think they'll be very interested in him for that role. Some weaknesses, though. Did not break out in his first 2 college seasons. He didn't. The routes need to improve. They're not so good. He needs to work on that. Yak, not so good. Despite the speed's there. But Yak, yards after catch, not his area of expertise. So, projected NFL draft capital. I've heard this spot a lot. Jaguars at 17 for Brian Thomas Jr. His over-under at books is 16.5. So 17 is a great possibility. I know the Jaguars want a wide receiver. They need that real number one. They don't have that. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. would be a great fit on their team. Exactly what they're looking for. Superflex rookie draft value, I have him at 109. There's a pretty clear top 8 with J.J. McCarthy kind of closing out that group. Brian Thomas, for me, is the best of the rest. I'll have him at 109. And, maybe someone else will pass him, but probably not. I like him as a prospect significantly. Now, these top 3, you don't really need to hear me say why I like Rome Odunze or why I like Malik Nabers, why I like Marvin Harrison Jr. All 3 of them could be the wide receiver 1 in some years. However, to me, looking at their profiles, Odunze, it's like 1A, 1B, 2. And Odunze is 2. He is behind the other 2 pretty clearly for me. College stats. Didn't do anything in 2020. 2021, 41 catches, 415 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's okay. Then 2022, broke out in year 3. 75 catches, 1,145 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Then he decided to come back. If he had come out, he might have been the wide receiver 1 in last year's class. He decided to go back to school. And it was probably the right decision because he delivered 92 catches, 1,640 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And I think he'll be drafted higher as the wide receiver 3 in this class than he would have been as the wide receiver 1 in last class. Odunze's strengths. He had excellent production in 2022 and 2023. We see that. We know that. Full green reception perception. Every route, a winner at every route. Matt Harmon's reception perception. I suggest you follow him on Twitter. Tell you, he knows more about wide receivers than I do. And he says that Odunze is great. I trust him on that. Can do everything in all roles. He is going to excel no matter what role you put him in. He's a versatile receiver. He's used short, used long. He can do all of that. And he still just turned 22 in June. He's not an older player, even though he was in college for the full 4 years. However, there are actual warts on Odunze's profile that the other 2, they don't have any. Lower production in the first 2 years. In 20, it wasn't there. Best season was year 4. Not an early declare. I mean, technically, if you count the COVID year, it's an early declare, but he played 4 college seasons. He's not an early declare by the traditional model. However, that doesn't mean that I don't like him. I just have to find some flaws. Like I said, he could be the wide receiver 1 in other years. He would have been the wide receiver 1 in last year's class. So, it's not like he's a bad prospect. I like him a lot. Projected NFL draft capital. Early first round, Bears at 9 for me is my current projection. I think that's the most popular projection, and I think it'll be a great spot for him. Keenan Allen is getting older. DJ Moore is 27, but, Rome Odunze is a better prospect than DJ Moore was. So there's no reason why with Caleb Williams that he could not succeed. And for me, Superflex rookie draft value 106. I'm going to be picking him there. There's an argument if he gets a really good landing spot or goes higher, maybe to even have him higher than that, but it's so tough. The other prospects are all so good that I think 106 is a fair price, but it's one of the best 106s you're going to get in a Superflex rookie draft over recent memory. Next up, Malik Nabers. And like I said, I kind of have it a 2, 1B, 1A, and with Malik Nabers as my 1B. Let's look at his profile. 2021, 28 catches, 417 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2022, we stepped it up, 72 catches, 1,017 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then this last year, 89 catches, 1,569 yards, 14 touchdowns in an absolute explosive performance. Let's look at the strengths. We know he competed against Brian Thomas Jr., same school, all 3 years. He was better all 3 years. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a mid-first round pick. So how good must Malik Nabers be? probably should be an early first-round pick, which is what's going to happen. He broke out early. Year 2 at 19 years old. Dominant season at LSU. That is difficult to do. Very difficult. And he delivered. He only turns 21 in July. I believe he's the youngest relevant wide receiver in this class. So he'll still be 20 at training camp. Just think about that for a second. What are Malik Nabers' weaknesses? Great question. There's one, really. It's that he's in the same class as Marvin Harrison Jr. There are no weaknesses. Malik Nabers has no real warts in his profile. The production profile is about as good as you can get coming out of the SEC. There's really, I could nitpick it, but it's not like Odunze where I could actually find something to say. I'd just be making up weaknesses for the sake of making up weaknesses. Malik Nabers would have been the wide receiver 1 in every other class in the Dynasty era except 2021, where Jamar Chase would have been ahead of him. But otherwise, he would have been the wide receiver 1 every other year. Projected NFL draft capital, early first round. I have the Giants at 6 currently. I think that's most popular. It's kind of where I see it. Some people are going to be scared by that landing spot. No need. Elite players deliver, even if they don't have the quarterback play. Yes, might it mean that he's the wide receiver 18 instead of 13 in year 1? Sure. Is Garrett Wilson still valued highly, even though he's never actually delivered the fantasy value? Absolutely, because you see that he's elite. You see that he earns the targets. And that's assuming that it's going to be Zach Wilson level bad. I'm not running away from Malik Nabers in any landing spot. Not running away. I have no fears. 105 for me in Superflex rookie draft value. And the fact that he's 105 says that I'm confident in the quarterback prospects in this class to have him only at 105. The top of this class is amazing. So if you're in the top half of this class, you're going to be very happy with what you get. And if it's Malik Nabers, I think you should celebrate. And lastly, the player I think we need to say the least about, Marvin Harrison Jr. We know who Marvin Harrison Jr. is. His father, Marvin Harrison, played for the Colts, is in the Hall of Fame. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an infinitely better prospect than his father. He didn't do much in 2021 at Ohio State. It would have been hard, considering Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson were all multiple years in and all dominated. But he still managed to do something. Then, after they all left, immediately, boom, 77 catches, 1,263 yards, 14 touchdowns. Kind of ran it back in 2023, even though he was obviously already kind of looking towards the draft. Strengths of Marvin Harrison Jr., strong breakout in year 2. He's got the pedigree, speed size combo, elite route running, can move into the slot with ease. He can do everything. Everything. It's like Malik Nabers. Just what I said about Malik Nabers. Marvin Harrison Jr. can do everything, except that I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is even a step beyond in terms of those elite traits. And he did have, his best season is not as good as Malik Nabers, but he has 2 seasons that are kind of in between Malik Nabers' second and best season. So, in terms of stats, they're very similar prospects. Weaknesses, none. He's the best prospect in the wide receiver prospect in the Dynasty era. He's the best one. There's never been one like him. Jamar Chase is the closest. But if you had all the wide receiver prospects, in the last 10 years, he would be the first taken. So I have 0 complaints. And we haven't had a wide receiver taken this early since Chase, I believe, taken 5th overall. And I project that Harrison Jr. will be the next highest wide receiver taken. First one to exceed that. Cardinals at 4. I have taking Marvin Harrison Jr. And for me, in terms of prospect grades, he would be the best prospect in this class. Of course, quarterbacks have a higher grade. It's close between Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. in terms of an overall prospect grade, but they're 1 and 2. They're the 2 best players in this class. And the only reason he's not going to go higher is because there are teams that need quarterback. And, I can't blame them for doing so. But this is the projected landing spot. Most people have this one. And because of that, I would have him at 102 in Superflex rookie drafts. I just can't pass on the other, on him, even for those quarterbacks. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be close to a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver immediately. So that warrants him being the 102. Now, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Additionally, if you want all of my rookie rankings, they're on the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. You can also buy them on the Buy Me a Coffee, which is in the video description. But once again, I just want to thank everyone for watching, and I will see you all later. Peace out.